Yes, so we're going to do another example. We're going to do part C, okay, of composite functions. Part C says we have to find what is hg of x. So if we're starting from the right, then what are we seeing is g of x. So we have to put g of x in a bracket. So as I'm saying, we're going to compose hg of x. So when we start from the right, we are seeing g of x. As you can see, g of x is on the right and h is on the left. So we must put g of x in a bracket, okay? And here it is, g of x is equal to x minus 5. So that's the domain function, is in a bracket. So here it is, g of x is in a bracket, which is x minus 5. So now we're going to put g of x now into h, okay? G of x will be going into h, all right? H is the range function. So we have to prepare some brackets in h, okay, because we're going to put g. You see how g is going into h, all right? G is going into h. H is 4 times open bracket, which is 4x. In the second step, you're not supposed to see any x. So whenever you see x in h, we have to use brackets. So it's 4 times bracket, subtract 3 times 3 times bracket divided by 3 times bracket. So I repeat, h is 4x minus 3 over 3x. However, in the second step, when we write in the range function, which is h, we're not supposed to see any x's. We're supposed to create brackets so that we can substitute the domain function. In that case, it's x minus 5 into the range function, which is h. So x minus 5 is coming all the way, you see brackets of h, okay? Right, so all the way you see brackets, x minus 5 is coming into those brackets in h, and then you clear the brackets by multiplying. 4 by x is 4x, and 4 by minus 5 is negative 20. Subtract 3. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times minus 5 is 15. Okay, and then we simplify. Negative 20 subtract 3 will give us negative 23. So we have 4x minus 23 over 3x minus 15, and this is the composite of h of g of x. G is going into h, okay? X minus 5 is going into 4 times x minus 5 minus 3 over 3 times x minus 5. So here you have composite functions, okay? The domain is going into the range, as you can see, the arrow is showing you, all right? In that case, it's g of g, so g is going into itself, g of g, okay? The first thing is to identify the domain function, then the range function, then you clear brackets, and then you simplify, okay? So that's basically how you go about composing two functions. The domain function, you substitute it into the range function, and then using brackets, you clear brackets, and then you simplify. Okay, you can call it like a 4-step process if you want to put it that way. Identify the domain function, place it in brackets, substitute it into the range function, clear the brackets, and then you simplify. 4 steps, okay, as to how to do a composite function in summary. Identify the domain, create brackets in the range function, substitute into the range function using brackets, clear the brackets, and then simplify. Okay, so here's a summary of how to go about composing two functions. So this arrow indicating to you how the range function is going into the domain function, the domain function going into the range function. Okay, so here it is, the domain function going into the range function. The domain function is going into the range function. So you identify the domain, put it in brackets, place it into the range function, which is h in that case, and then you clear brackets, and then you simplify. All where you see x, you put your domain function inside of the range function. Domain into range, okay? Bear that in mind. You can even make a little summary right there with this. Like 1 step. Text. The domain function always on the right. The domain function is always on the right. Okay, the domain function is always on the right, and it will have to go into the range function, which is on the left. Okay. Domain function, range function, if you want to use that terminology, domain function is always on the left, on the right, sorry. Domain function is always on the right. Right? Domain function is always on the right. The domain function is always on the right. Okay. And the range function is always on the left. So you always start from the right using that approach that we are promoting. Okay. Domain function on the right and place into the range function, which is on the left. In brackets, domain, range in brackets, clear brackets, and then simplify.